Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about Creepshow Art's latest and self-purported last upload. This is going to be more of a rant-styled video. I tried to make this more structured, but the situation is just so complicated to explain that it was counterintuitive to do it like that, so if it's all over the place, that's why. Also, I'm recovering from COVID, so excuse my voice. This is editing CTQ here, and in my COVID haze, I confused Kiwi Farms and lolcow. So every time I say Kiwi Farms, I mean lolcow. I'm too sick to re-record everything, so that's just a small correction that I have. Sorry about that. If you don't know the history of the Creepshow Art and Emily Artful drama, I'll link some videos down below for all the details. But here's what you need to know. Creepshow, aka Shannon, got called out for starting drama and talking shit about her own friends on Kiwi Farms, was accused of stalking and harassing Emily Artful for over 10 years, and has been silent for about 6 months. Now, given that Shannon's video was released on New Year's Eve, the same day that we lost our beloved Betty White, no one really gave it the time of day, and although I've seen some discourse about it online, it's been minimal. I watched the video when it first came out, and I have opinions. Not about each and every receipt and timeline, because that would take months to compare and contrast, but to try to answer the question of why. Why did she make a 2.5 hour long video and a 90+ page Google Doc with evidence that didn't even address all of the claims? Why didn't she mention Kiwi Farms? Why did she try to handle this legally? Why did she think she could do this? Firstly, she posted this on New Year's Eve, 6 months after the allegations came to light. Twitter users have pointed out that YouTube's monetization program requires a channel not to be inactive for 6 months or risk losing your YouTube coin. But I don't think that's the full story, as Shannon claims she is abandoning her channel and being online as a whole. If she was smart, she would have stayed gone the first time, so I'm curious to see if this actually happens. Anyways, she claims in the intro that if you're seeing this video, it means one of two things has happened, and discusses some vague legal remedies to her situation, which we'll get into in a minute. She also says she's leaving links to her Google Doc in all the videos used in the description box, yet when I clicked on them, the links are broken. This could be innocuous, but given how much effort Shannon put into defending herself, you would think she wouldn't make such a careless mistake with every single link to her evidence. Unless, by chance, she wasn't expecting anyone to go behind her. Or if it's one last middle finger to us lazy people. And maybe, by chance, she broke the links herself by manually typing in the ellipses. Tinfoil hat aside, who's doing the heavy lifting now, Shannon? Just to disclaim, I want to say that although I do have real-world experience with defamation lawsuits, I don't know everything about them, and civil procedure codes and statutes vary by state, so what I discuss here will only be within the scope of my own knowledge and experience. Firstly, there's a strong difference between something being legal and being moral. There are tons and tons of resources and think pieces discussing the difference between the two, but I only want to talk about how legality and morality apply in this situation. Shannon has made it very clear with her words and her actions that she has no time to address allegations that do not have potential legal ramifications, namely the whole backstabbing her friends Kiwi Farms drama. It's been pretty cut and dry from the beginning that Shannon was guilty of said drama, as Kiwi Farms moderators and admins released the evidence showing years worth of posts and comments from her after removing her anonymity. People were hurt, friends of Shannon felt betrayed, and everyone who was once a fan of her felt deceived. But Shannon doesn't care to address this because it wasn't illegal. Sure, one might say it's very immoral to backstab all of your friends and followers who have supported you for years, but Shannon doesn't care as long as she's not being accused of something illegal. She doesn't care about salvaging her public image because she knows there is nothing left. Shannon is in full collateral damage mode, where anything she says and anything she does will become a liability to herself and those around her. And that's the thing with the internet. There isn't a ton of precedent regarding actual fully argued court cases regarding this niche of a topic, so this is all happening in the court of public opinion, as most online issues are. I think there's a chance this issue was originally discussed with a lawyer, but I can't think of any lawyer aside from Saul Goodman who would advise Shannon to release this video, even if some resolution was made between the two sides. A good lawyer would have advised her of the total opposite and would have handled any communications or public statements, especially if Shannon was planning to leave the internet. Shannon can cast away the hard-lined allegations against her under the guise of legality and instead focus on what was and has always been her obsession, Emily. This focus on legality gives her an unearned sense of security. It's basically a way to convince herself, well, of course I need to focus on Emily's allegations. She's accusing me of something illegal. The biggest problem with this is Shannon herself and her ability to reverse engineer a way to justify such a video about Emily, which is also indicative of Shannon's greater ability to justify her decade-long hatred for Emily. You can see this in the intro when Shannon says, "Emily's narrative that I stalked her is in part made, I believe, so that when I show proof of her lies from her accounts, she can further claim that that in and of itself is stalking." And later says, "She both had access to proof that actively went against her claims and purposefully hid it in order to slander my husband and I." Let's just break this down in order of events for clarity. 1. Emily and Shannon exist separately with their own lives and their own channels. 2. Emily accuses Shannon of stalking her with evidence. 3. Shannon claims Emily only accused her of stalking so that Shannon cannot disprove Emily's allegations of stalking. 4. Shannon subsequently proves with evidence Emily's allegations of stalking by showing the full extent of the stalking. If you've seen any of the discussion regarding Shannon's video, you've seen people talking about how a 2.5-hour long video including receipts and postings from as far back as Emily's childhood years about where she lived, who she was dating, and what drugs she was doing doesn't exactly scream, "I am not a stalker." And everyone is right. But this video wasn't ever really about proving Shannon's innocence. It was a tool to embarrass, shame, and damage Emily in the court of public opinion, hoping everyone would go, "Wow, Emily used to be a bad person." In university, I had to read and write papers on manifestos written by famous criminals and murderers, and although it would be over-dramatic to black and white compare it to those, it does give off similar vibes to me. This video is Shannon's magnum opus. It's her life's work. Years and years of research, dedication, watchful eyes, and mulling over what every post could possibly mean. Shannon sees the inconsistencies, quote unquote, and lack of posts about a certain topic as universal truths because although she has been stalking her for years, Shannon doesn't know Emily. Shannon only has Emily's online postings as a representation of who Emily is as a person, and that is essentially just a caricature of a human. Emily only exists as a counterpart to Shannon, not her own individual person. This is why it went this far. So who's right? After all is said and done, you may be asking yourself, who's right? Who wins? Well, no one wins. The internet is forever a slightly worse place with its own little corner forever burned by the dying star that was Creepshow Art. Shannon, you did this to yourself. Instead of telling us all to touch grass, maybe you should have done that years ago.
Hi, we regret to inform you that if you thought you ate, unfortunately you did not. You are actually starving. I see your bones. We would love for you to return the plate effective immediately. So yeah.